This is verse 8 of the 6th chapter of the Gospel of Matthew. In the midst of the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus is giving warnings about mindless religious practices, which he has likened in the previous verse to the idea of stuttering, that is, to just repeat something without any particular conscious intent regarding it, thinking that just the multiplication of words is going to somehow gain some kind of credit from the deity. And Jesus is warning not to imitate that kind of behavior in the praying that is being carried on by those who follow him. So he gives a prohibition here, may, with the aorist subjunctive is going to be a prohibition. Do not would be the idea, postpositive un, therefore do not. This is homoi o theta, from homoi o, contract verb. The active of this verb would be something like I copy, I imitate, I make myself like someone else. This is the passive of the second person plural aorist passive subjunctive, so it means don't be made like them would be the notion. It uses the dative plural of the object of this thing that might be copied, so you do not allow yourself to become like them would be the notion. Don't be like them because the act of worship in which you engage has a very different view of the deity that you're worshiping. It's not that this God needs to be impressed with a lot of repetition, but he indicates the omniscience of God kicks in at this point, and God is fully aware of anything that you may need, and much more aware of it than the practitioner of the religion would be. So he says, oiden, from Ado, I know. This is the third person singular, perfect active indicative. He knows and continues to know into the present moment. Gar, postpositive, for he knows. Ho pater humon, this is the subject. The masculine singular nominative, the father with the possessive pronoun, second person plural pronoun. The father of you knows. Has known, continues to know. Hon, this is a relative pronoun, the genitive plural, of which. So he knows of which. Crayon, the word for need, in the accusative. So he knows that of which you need. Eketa, the second person plural present, active indicative of echo, I have. So he knows that of which you have need. This is the accusative because it's the object of eketa. And then pro, this is a preposition, means before, and then it's used with the articular infinitive. So we have the article and the infinitive here. Pro takes the genitive, and so we have the genitive article. The articular infinitive you can usually construct roughly in English as inserting something like the task of or something like that. I'm going to give you the idea here. So we have before to the task of to ask. That's the idea. Of course, that's very rough in translation, but that's the notion. So the act of asking, to ask. This is the aorist infinitive of aiteo, to ask. The infinitive will take the accusative, both as the subject and possibly as the object, and that's what we have here. So the first accusative here is functioning as the subject. So before the act of you asking would be, and then the second of these accusatives is the accusative masculine singular pronoun, him. So he knows the things of which you have need before the act of asking, before you engaging in the act of asking him. Our God knows precisely what our needs are, infinitely more than we do. So when we come to pray, it's not that we're banging on the door trying to get God to see it from our point of view, but rather we come in humble recognition that God knows more than we do, and we voice our needs as best we know how, operating on the assumption that God will provide for us in ways that may or may not match our request, because we may or may not know precisely what the needs are that are driving our request in the first place.